your house becomes a history lesson, number one. It becomes, and especially if you have a block of houses where everybody has been careful to keep the original siding, roofing, materials, and windows and all that, you get a sense of what it was like when it was built. At least 4 people have taken, on this couple of blocks here, have taken advantage of the tax credit program. The great thing about Caravati's is they understand old materials. And if you go there, you'll see that they've got old windows categorized according to period. They have old doors categorized according to style. They know what they're dealing with, and they make it very easy to find what you need. We got a heat pump style air conditioning unit, and we got a space pack, which is they take tubes, put them in the floor joists, between the floor joists. In a high ceiling, large house, heat pumps do not work well for heat. They're fine for air conditioning. And so we put that kind of air conditioning in all over the house. Ashley Neville is an architectural historian who also does tax credit projects. And I generally, when people want to do it, I send people to her because she understands the Ashland houses. I mean, she does some in Richmond too, but she lives here or in Hanover and knows what she's doing. And she's worth it.
Been in business a long time, and I think right at this point it's been around 86 years since my grandfather started. Elaine and I have lived at Hanover Courthouse for 38 years, and we've come past this building a lot, and we were passing it when it was empty. And I kept saying, you know, that would be a great location or satellite location, you know, because it's so close to home. And then I just really liked the layout of the building. When Tom came down to talk to us about it, he knew my aunt, Marilyn Pollard, who just happened to know the 2 sisters, Mr. Loving's daughters, who ran the Ford business as well. She knew them, and then she knew how to get in touch with their daughters. So this would have been the granddaughters that we actually were able to make contact with over a period of time, and it really, things fell into place. We got an appointment with them to look at the building. You know, we were very grateful that they decided to lease it to us, and then that they also were willing to come in and rehab the building and bring this up to par so we'd be able to move into it and operate out of it. Polly, a little bit, they hired a local contractor, and he and his son came in and totally rehabbed everything. They had to rewire it. They had to repair the ceilings. This room we're in now was open. There was exposed rafters, you know, ceiling joists and rafters on top of these I-beams, and so they insulated all that, put in new sheetrock, put in all new lighting. They resealed and redid the concrete floors in here, and they painted everything, and they put a brand new electrical service in and HVAC. And the luxury thing is, at our old warehouse, we never had air conditioning, or we had some gas heat, but that was about it. So we were really excited about having, you know, a nice, cool showroom area for people to walk around in as well. So behind these doors is our woodworking shop.
Okay.
You
Yep,
wanna open them?
that's good.
Okay. So this is where all of the repair goes on, and the refinishing and that type of thing, all of our custom work for people. What we do for old glass is we recycle and reclaim original old house windows, and usually they're anywhere from about 1850s to the turn of the century, and that's how we acquire our glass. So when you're getting old glass from us, it's authentic, and we do cut that to size as far as one of our services. This was actually an auto repair shop, as you can see, held up by a massive steel I-beams, because they had elevators in here where they would raise the cars up, or lifts rather, so they could work on one car on the floor while another one was in the air at the same time. So it's pretty heavy duty. So we thought this would be a great place to store our unfinished goods, like mantles, doors, beams. This mantle is what we call an Adams mantle. This was pulled from a local home here in Ashland. It was one that is being renovated. And so this is a beautiful heart pine mantle underneath the paint. You're probably looking at a date of somewhere around 1810, 1820. All handmade. It's a beautiful piece. And they call this an Adams mantle, and we refer to this as the Adams oval.
First of all, tell me about this house.
Okay, what we know about it, was the father bought it for his daughter, newly married, and that was 1858. And so that's the earliest record we have of the house. And during the American Civil War, when Ashland was occupied for a bit, this is one of the houses that was occupied. And that was the Humphreys that lived here. And the husband went to war, came back wounded, and supposedly sat by one of these trees and watched the trains go by after the war. The real estate agent called us and said, this property is going to come on the market and you'd really love it. And while my son was at Randolph-Macon attending at the time, his grandmother came up while we were in New York, and they came over, peeked inside the windows. My son was a bit embarrassed about that. And my mother-in-law said, I don't think you're going to be able to afford this. When we come back, we look at it and we fell in love with it. The house itself as well as the outbuildings. So we moved from a 1950s house to an 1850s house. If it's an outdoor porch and it's wood, you're going to have to paint and repair every 3 to 4 years. So we've been at least 2 columns we've had to put new pedestals on, and we replaced many of the boards and repainted.
We need a plaster right now. We still have one room that the ceiling has to be repaired on. It's always something, but we're lucky. We don't have an extraordinary amount of cracks in the house. When the fellows came out, we did do support work under the house to shore up what was done previously. And it was a pretty big, they put in new piers underneath the house, even though there were already steel beams. But the big question they kept asking was, do you have a lot of cracks in the house? And we don't. So we were really lucky about that.
And so they did that. And then they also, across the front, the brick piers were deteriorating because they're 150 plus years old. So the mortar's falling apart. So they put steel piers beside those to support. And proof's in the pudding. When the large trains come by, and it's only 100 feet away from our house.
We're not shaking as
And we're not shaking as like we did before.
Gotcha.
We didn't realize how slanted the floors were while we were falling in love with the house. So I would, you may want to bring some marbles with you when you go and just drop it on the floor and see how far it rolls or how fast.
These are floors we redone.
Oh, yeah.
These are floors that were in decent shape when we came. Don't look up. That's the ceiling we need to replace.
Oh, I've got to capture that anyway.
Yeah, oh no you don't. But we don't know how bad that's going to be because, as you know, that's going to make it. Chimney that needs help. Chimney that needs help.
The Chinnery that owned Secretariat grew up like over there, you know that house? And then his cousins lived here. So they all grew up at the same time, you know, living on the same block. So pretty cool. I mean, an old house just takes time and love and care. So there are things like plaster work, electrical work, window work, all of that stuff you still have to maintain. It was in pretty good condition. The previous owner, Skylar Miller, had taken really good care of the house, and all the work he did was very thoughtful in regards to like historic preservation. Even like this addition, just the architecture to go into that, to have it match the house. I remember when we first looked at the house, you know, you're kind of walking around the outside of it, and I thought that was part of the original house until I looked at the siding was like perfect. You know, it was really, and I thought, why is this siding so nice? And then, you know, the more I looked at it, it's like, oh, okay, this is an addition. One reason to keep restoring these houses is that they are infinitely restorable. Like houses built nowadays, the materials just aren't, you have to remove and replace. I restored all the hardware in this room too. So in these, I guess were gone. These were gone, but you can still buy them, but they're just absurdly expensive for what they are. Mm-hmm. But they're cool. Like the original iron surround, that's why this magnet sticks to.
Is the rest of the ironwork original too?
Yeah, the stuff on the roof. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's about. Oh, and then I redid all the windows in here. Took all the hardware off and stripped it and cleaned everything up.
Radiators no longer functioning?
No, they work.
They do?
We have a boiler in the basement, natural gas boiler.
Ah, okay. And can you demonstrate how
Yeah.
it works?
And then it's got a screen on it, but it goes out. Yeah, and it actually goes into the second story. And I want to say it's like 50 pounds of window weights. Yeah. Hey, and it's like 2 doors together instead of going like that.
We had a very short window of time to make a decision on a house. We were moving back from overseas. We had a shipment on its way to the U.S. And so I think really our window was about 6 weeks of what was available in Ashland at the time. Ooh. I still remember when we came up here to your story, seeing our neighbor who was lied at the time, mm-hmm. and she came over to the fence and saw the 3 little girls and said, you know what, this house next door, it needs a lot of love. And I don't just mean it needs work, mm-hmm. it needs the love of a family. And I'll never forget it because it kind of got me right then and there that, hey, we've got that and we only have about 2 weeks left before our stuff all shows up. So mm-hmm. It was a quick decision.
Okay, so tell me about the process of applying for historic tax credits.
Honestly, it was really easy compared to the advice we were giving at the beginning, which was how difficult it would be. My neighbor Rosie Shelf actually gave me some encouragement, but as I started to talk to people, they told me that it was going to be difficult based on like the details that were needed in order to apply. In reality, the people at the Department of Historical Renovation were really helpful, and they gave me the details I needed. And actually, I just applied basically using the forms they gave me, my cell phone to take pictures, and putting those pictures onto PowerPoint and marking it the way that they wanted it to be marked. I submitted everything digitally in the first 2 phases, which are where I'm at right now. Asked them to give me any details that needed to be changed, and then submitted the hard copies that they required at the time. And it was approved within a month of me turning it in. I just followed my neighbor's advice. I mean, there's so many people in Ashland that have worked with their historical houses that I've been able to get contacts for plumbers, for electricians, for people who work in wood and house painting. I've got a guy coming to do the restoration of the back of the house next week. Like in the wintertime when we have family and our relatives over for holidays, it was so nice to have that fire there. And then it also provides quite a bit of heat, pushes out quite a bit of heat. And so without the radiators, which were taken out a couple years ago before we bought the house, it gets really cold downstairs. And so having the fireplace, and then we put in split units underneath of the house to provide extra heat and air conditioning. And so that has kept the house relatively comfortable, which we're really happy about. That's been the biggest work we've done, is something you really can't see too much, but we've insulated the attic and put in split units at the bottom of the house. The coolest part of the house is the dining room. Not for anything else other than the windows, which are these big, long windows, but they have a door at the bottom that you can open up. And so for short people like me and for my daughters, we can open up the windows, open up the doors, and the girls can run from the dining room straight into the pool. This is actually an addition from the older part of the house, but since it is in existence, since we've applied for the historical tax credit, we can work on it and renovate it as part of our cost. And they told us, whatever you do, don't paint the natural wood in some of the historical parts of the house. And so they said, please don't paint that. Radiator pipe that isn't in use. So we're hoping to get a split unit to be able to vent air conditioning and heat up here from the renovation we're doing downstairs. We moved from a city of over 8 million, and so to be able to walk my daughter to her piano lesson across the street, or down to the dance studio, or over to Origins or the Caboose has been a huge blessing.